How's it going, everyone? Just home from the local property tax meeting in the county council. It happens every year. It's this one item agenda where county councillors gather and have the power to decide whether to increase the local property tax by anything up to 15% or decrease the local property tax by anything up to 15%, or of course to maintain it as it is. So how it works is that the executive of the council give us a presentation with all the figures and all the impacts and the rationale on their part for why, as they requested today, why they wanted the local property tax to be increased by 15%. So a very comprehensive presentation, and then councillors around the chamber spoke on the LPT and gave their own stance, their own views, and ultimately proposals were then presented in terms of councillors voting for an increase in the local property tax or otherwise. So it was really interesting. My head is a bit melted, but a very interesting experience in terms of so for us as a party in Bray, just to put it out there, we don't believe in the local property tax full stop. We would like to have it abolished. In the general election next year, that's one of the things that you may consider when you're deciding who to support or not to support. It's for us, and we've done the analysis, and it's not just an opinion on the local property tax, but it's out of date, it's out of sync, and it's out of touch. And as a tax, it was imposed on us as an austerity tax. But all the data that was used to make the calculations on the baseline and the valuation are kind of 2013 or before then. As a tax, it was reviewed even just last year, and the review was so scathing that they didn't have the bottle to implement any of the recommendations because they knew that an election was coming, and that it would punish those who are supporting such an outrageous tax. And you know, the how our party works, people on the ground weren't telling us that they wanted to increase the local property tax. People during our campaigning for local elections weren't telling us that they want an increase, and people are actually more inclined to say, what do we get in return? You're sending €3.5 million out of the county from our local property tax. You want to use it then to pay staff costs and pension costs down in county buildings. So there's a little bit of cynicism out there amongst people. So for us, we weren't going to ever be in a position to support an increase in the local property tax. And what was fascinating today was this cognitive dissonance that seemed to manifest in the room, where people were able to tell us how bad it was and how unequal it was and how ineffective it is on different levels, and yet at the same time propose to increase it by 10%. So ultimately what was voted on was an increase by 10%, and 21 councillors from across the county supported that motion to increase the local property tax by 10%. 8 of us voted against that. And even if we zoom into Bray, we had one councillor who was absent today, who has never supported the LPT. And then 2 of us, myself and my colleague Grace McManus, voted against the increase, but all of the other councillors were in favour of it. And that's politics. And for us, it's about being able to go back to our people and our constituents and those who voted for us and gave us a mandate, and say, no, we didn't support an increase, and we don't support an increase, and if we ever get an opportunity, we will abolish the tax. And it'll be fascinating to see how the others rationalise their decision and tell their people perhaps why they voted to increase the tax and what we're going to get in return for that. So I look forward to seeing how that pans out. But that's it, folks, that's politics. So in 2020, there will be, unfortunately, a 10% increase in your local property tax. But in 2020, there will also be a general election. So let's see how that has an impact on how ultimately local government works, because for me that's the root of the problem, is that local government doesn't really have a say. It pretends to have a say, and national government pretends to give it a say, but the power in local government has been stripped away year after year since 2014, and it's really heading for rock bottom unless there's some change made at a national level. So let's see how it goes. See you all soon.